Hey, cleaning company owner, are you frustrated because you feel like you can't get the leads you need to grow? You know you need to get your name out there, but you don't know how? Maybe you've even invested in marketing or you want to invest in marketing, but you can't waste money on marketing that doesn't work. There's nothing worse than throwing money away to get either no leads or bad leads that aren't in your area. They don't have any money, or they do have money, but all they want to do is talk about the price. In this video, you're going to discover how to stop chasing or selling to the wrong people and how to get the right people to consistently come to you ready to buy. It's called Smarketing. Now, I'm so excited to dive into Smarketing with you, but let's start with the opposite, believe it or not, which is called hopium marketing. Now, hopium is this belief that there's a magic lead source that you can just fax over your order for all the good leads, and they're going to slide back across the table a list of names and numbers that are just going to buy immediately. Or that you can hire a marketing guy, a marketing agency, and they're going to handle everything, and you can just focus on your business, and they'll magically grow it for you. The problem is owners with these beliefs focus on the wrong thing. They're focusing on someone else handling the market. Facebook will handle it, Google will handle it, a marketing guy will handle it. But the truth is there is no magic lead source. All lead sources, Facebook, direct mail, telemarketing, they all work. And if they didn't, they would be out of business. They wouldn't have been around for this long. But the truth is they also require clarity on who you're trying to reach and exactly what problem you're trying to solve for them. The beautiful thing is, guys, gals, if you know how to market, you're never going to go hungry. It's a wildly valuable skill in the cleaning business and in every business, or just about every business you're ever going to own. So let's get back to agencies or hiring a magic marketing person. Here's the reality. There's kind of two buckets. One, there's people or agencies that charge like $500 a month or $1,000 a month or something we feel like we can afford. But the reality is, oftentimes they're tiny companies that don't even know enough about marketing to fill their own schedule. Or there's people that can get great leads, but it might cost $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month to pay the agency and the traffic cost. And a lot of times smaller owners of cleaning companies just can't afford that. So what we're going to do on this video is teach you Smarketing. These are the things that the $5,000 and $10,000 a month guys practice, not the hopium, but the Smarketing. Let's dive in. Here are the three pillars of Smarketing. One, we've got to pick the perfect prospects or the right people. Two, we've got to say the right thing in the right place. And three, we've got to track and tweak. We call that data, not drama. Let's jump into Smarketing pillar one, picking the right people or picking perfect prospects. So Smarketers always start at the beginning with exactly who they're trying to attract before they even think about what to say or where to market. I'm going to say that again because it's really important. Smarketers start with the who, not what they're going to say or where they're going to market, who they're trying to attract. Now, they do this by, if you hired one of the expensive guys, they're going to spend a ton of time interviewing your best customers. They're going to call them, ideally go face to face. That's why it's so expensive. It takes a long time to really market well. The $500 to $1,000 guys are just going to put out a bunch of content that doesn't work. Now, there's some good news here. You probably already know your best customers better than any other marketer is going to, right? Because every sales call or every conversation you've had, believe it or not, can be a marketing gold mine. And I'm going to tell you how to take that raw data and turn it into something you can use into very, very good marketing. Now, the keys to these conversations turning into good marketing, there's really only two. One is it's with your perfect prospects, right? So if you have a sales call with someone that's not the person you're trying to attract, we don't put any of that into our marketing because they're going to give us the wrong idea. Two, you've got to ask questions about what they really want, right? So they're all going to start with some version of the most clean for the least amount of money, but that's not really what they want. They just haven't been educated by anyone that can really help them to understand what they're really looking for. So what we want is not only the pain they say they're trying to solve, which is some version of I want something cleaned. We want them to understand, and we want to understand in our marketing and sales process the consequence of the pain and the consequences of those consequences. So I'll give you an example on the residential side, an example on the commercial side. On the residential side, wife, and it's typically 90% of the time we're going to be talking to the lady of the house, the wife is going to say something like, it drives me nuts when they miss the blinds, or there's dust on the ceiling fan, or some cleaning-based thing. And our natural response is to put our finger across it and show them the dust and kind of intimate that we're better at cleaning and those guys stink. But the reality is, that's just the superficial pain. What we want is a consequence of the pain. So when you come home and you see dust on the fan, how does that make you feel? Or why is that a problem for you? And they'll give you the consequences. Well, I work hard at work and I want to come home and relax. And when I look at that dust, I really can't relax. That sounds really frustrating. So we got the consequences, which is already better than 90% of what you're going to work with. Now we're going to talk about the consequences to those consequences, which would be when you come home and can't relax, what happens then? Well, I just sit there and stress out and I'm ruined for work tomorrow, or I'm snippy with my husband or my kids. Oh my gosh, when you come home, it makes you feel this way, and it's affecting the relationship between your husband and your kids. That's a tremendous amount of value helping them understand what's really happening and the problem they're really trying to solve. Because if they just focus on getting the dust off the fan at some point, they're going to hire the wrong person and be focused on price and just constantly be in a treadmill. But if you help them understand why it's important to them, they're going to know that you can probably solve their problem. I'll give you one quick one on the commercial side and then we'll move on. On the commercial side, it might be something like they forget to lock the door. They forget to take this trash can. That's probably a big one. They miss this trash can or that trash can. That's just a superficial pain. Let's get the consequences. Well, why is that a big deal? I mean, seems like a couple of things of trash is no big deal. Well, it's a big deal because there's 20 offices in here and twice a day, someone from their office says the guy forgot the thing. So the superficial pain is someone forgets the trash. The consequence of that is they get complained to. Well, when they come to you, why is that a big deal? Well, I feel like I'm wasting all my time managing the cleaners and that's not even my job and I don't spend time on what I should be doing. I'm focused on this thing that I don't even want to do. Now we've got the pain, the consequences, and the consequence of the consequences. By the way, I could talk about this for hours, but I want to stay on Smarketing. So if you want a full video on sales, let me know in the comment and we'll kind of put it on our things to record. Now that we've got a couple examples of what it looks like to get the pain, the consequences of the consequences of the consequences, let me give you a little bonus that's going to supercharge it. When you can, if you really want to be a Smarketer, you're going to record what they say. And again, most people don't care if you just say, I record this just because I want to do better. And you're going to go word for word. A lot of times we have the tendency to replace what they say is like, oh, let me sum it up or let me say it in a better way. Believe it or not, the best marketing, the best copy that we're going to write down, and we're going to talk about how to do that, is literally your client's word. Their exact words and phraseology. So if the wife says, I just feel like when I come home, I can't, the weight of the world's on my shoulders. We're going to write down in copy, do you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders? Not if just one person says it, but if you hear it over and over again, or they say something that's perfect. So when you record it, you can go back and literally I do that with my clients when they bring me sales recordings. We can just go through it and get ideas for emails or headlines for YouTube videos or offers. There's gold mine in there. Word for word is really helpful. All right. Because the most important part of this is making sure that you're talking with a perfect prospect, because it doesn't matter how clear you get on the pain of someone that's not your perfect prospect. Let's dive into making sure you're talking to the perfect prospect. Then picking the right people, there's 3 steps to that. We've got to make sure we pick the right type of clean, the right type of person based on who they are, and the right type of person on how they act. Let's start with step 1, the type of clean. Big picture, there's residential recurring, there's commercial recurring, there's short-term rentals, there's move-out, and there's post-construction. Now I've got a video with a whole deep dive into that exact, how to pick that customer and the strengths and the weaknesses of each. So I'm going to put a link in the comments. You can check that out if you want a fuller description on residential, commercial, short-term, move-in, move-out, post-construction. Now, before we move on, I'm going to give you a quick little bonus concept of red, yellow, green. All that means is we break all prospects down into 3 categories. Red means we don't do them. If I'm residential, I'm probably not going to do commercial. Maybe I don't do outside of a certain area. Maybe if people are just rude or mean people, they're red. Yellow is going to be a lot of our clients. The reason I bring this up is, say you want to, as a commercial person, you want to just focus on property managers. You might have a bunch of banks or restaurants or other things. You're like, do I have to fire those people or not take them anymore? And people get really scared that they're not going to have enough prospects. Those are going to be yellow. If you can help them, you want to help them, and they have money and want your help, you take them. That's yellow, and you don't feel bad about it. It's great. Green is where we're going to spend 100% of our time and money trying to attract. So the big difference is red, we're not going to every time the phone rings go, well, this guy's a little outside of my thing, or he's commercial, but it's a really good deal. We're going to make that decision once on these are red, we don't take them, so you don't have to make that decision every time you get an opportunity, it's made. You might revisit your red, yellow, green quarterly, once or twice a year, but you're not going to do it every decision. It's going to waste a bunch of time and drive you nuts. Yellow, we're going to give ourselves permission. We're going to serve them. We're going to serve them well. It's fine if they come, but we're not going to chase. And we're not going to chase anybody. We're not going to work to attract. The green is going to get all of our efforts, all of our marketing, our website, the way we speak, everything we do is going to be to attract the green. And if the yellows come, God bless them. And if you do the Smarketing we lay out, you're going to get plenty of the green. Let's move on to step 2, the type of person, who they are. So on the residential side, that could be elderly folks. It could be a young and successful professional, like a lawyer who's got $1 million condo or something. The easy button on residential, which I would recommend if you're not sure what to pick, is families. We're looking for high income homeowners, larger square footage because they've got too much to clean, kids, which take a lot of time and make a lot of mess, which is a problem we're trying to solve. Pets also take time and make mess. So high income, nice house, homeowner, larger, pets, kids. That's the easy button when it comes to residential. Plenty of other niches you can take, but if, people always like, just give me the right answer, so there it is. When it comes to commercial, there is no easy button. There's a lot of different niches and they all have their own strengths and weaknesses. So I'll give you a list of property managers, gyms, restaurants, churches, government, car dealerships, industrial spaces, nursing homes. There's a ton of opportunities for niche. The big thing to remember here is there's no perfect niche. Every single one of them has their strengths and weaknesses. So if you spend all of your time eliminating niches because they've got a weakness, you'll eliminate everybody, right? I've got a beautiful bride who's way better than I am and too good for me, but she's not perfect, right? If I desired perfect, I'd still be single and I'd miss out on one of the biggest joys of my life. So once we as we're looking for our niche, we want to make sure that there's enough of them and they have enough money to pay for your services. Let's start with enough of them. We don't have to go crazy on this. A lot of times we think we need a lot more than we really do. On the residential side, well, for both, we just want to make sure if you get 10% of all of the people in your area that meet that niche, you can hit your goal. So on the property managers for commercial side, if there's like $5 million of commercial property management going on in your area, which would be a pretty small amount, that means you could get 500,000. And if that's meets your goal, it's plenty big enough. You don't need a bigger niche. Now, if you're in a small town that's like 50,000 people, 30,000 people and you're commercial, your niche might need to be any commercial building that is over a certain amount of square footage in this area. And the cool thing is the small towns, people, that's a niche. Like, oh, I do this thing in this town. They're like, oh, we're a small town, there's more community. On the residential side, again, we talked about the easy button niche. As long as you're in a bigger city, you're gonna be able to niche down just fine. It's more on the commercial side. On the second side, and the second piece is we need to make sure your niche has enough money. Now on the commercial piece, all commercial businesses have enough money. I know a lot of nonprofits and people will tell you they don't. They do. The problem isn't that they don't have the money, they just don't understand the value. One of my favorite Warren Buffett quotes is, price is what you pay, value is what you get. And you can test me on this if you go to commercial people and they say, we just want the best price. Got it. We can absolutely do you the best price. Are you okay with criminals? Do you need insurance? Is it okay if they wear wife beaters or they need to be in uniform? Do we have to show up every time? Is it okay if we lose keys? They're going to say no to all of that. And then you go, oh, so it sounds like it's not all about price. Price is important, which is, of course we get that, but it sounds like there are some things that are more important than price. And they go, yeah, of course. And then we can start having a real conversation. So we're not trying to screw people or get the most money, but we want to make sure that they understand what stuff costs. If I told you I had a brand new Ferrari I could sell you for $10,000, you're going to be suspect because something's amiss, right? You don't want to get screwed on the price, but you are equally concerned about underpaying and getting some salvage title or fake thing or whatever the case may be. So that's on the price side for commercial. Little bonus here. When it comes to commercial, you've got a lot, who you pick is really important. On the residential side, as long as you got people that are, homeowner, like kind of what we described, there's plenty of them, they're easy to find. They're all going to be worth, maybe $200, $300, $400 on the low end, maybe $600, $700, $800, maybe there's a $1,000 one on the high end, but they're all worth that $400 or $500 in general. On the commercial side, you can get people that are $5,000 a month all the way, or $500 a month, all the way up to $20,000, $30,000 a month. So we encourage you to focus on what we call a Dream 100, or actually what Chet Holmes in his book, Ultimate Sales Machine, excellent book, coined, as I found it, the Dream 100. The reality is it's so much easier, believe it or not, to sell a $5,000 a month account than it is to sell a $500 a month account. Often the $500 person doesn't know anything about cleaning. He's got an employee doing it. His pain is very low, right? So he thinks, well, if I could get this handle for $200 or $300, and they freak out over $500. I can assure you, if someone's got a facility that's big enough that requires $5,000 a month of cleaning, they have had good cleaners and they've had bad cleaners. They know the cost of a bad cleaner, and it's much easier to get them to understand the value because it's important to them. So most of the time, when people haven't had those larger accounts and they go to bid on them, the mistake they make is lack of confidence. They lower their price too much because they think it's on price, and they don't understand it's actually easier to sell to those. So the Dream 100 is really important because, again, if it's easier, let's say it's the same work to sell a $500 account a month worth versus 5,000. Well, one's worth $6,000 a year, one's worth $60,000 a year. And I can assure you, it's not 10 times harder to sell a $5,000 a month. It's not even 10% harder. Now, let's just do a little quick math to get your juices flowing on the commercial side. If you have exactly 100 people in your Dream 100, and they all have a lifetime value of $100,000 or more, and they should, and you just get 1 in 10 per year, that means 9 out of 10 after a year's worth of marketing or smarketing still tell you to piss off, and only one says yes, you'll still add $1 million in revenue to your company every single year. All right, residential, I haven't forgotten about you. You just got to use some common sense if the home that you're cleaning matches the price of your services. Generally, we're looking for every other week people, right? We don't want the every 3 weeks or the monthly. For me, that would be red. Maybe for you, it's yellow. They're certainly not green. Ideally, we want 2 times a week people, or not 2 times a week, 2 times a month, every other week. And right now in the United States, that's about $400 a month, depending on the area you're in. Now, if the person you're talking to is paying $1,500 a month in rent or mortgage, the likelihood that they're going to pay $400 a month to have it cleaned is very low, right? Now, the beautiful thing is you don't necessarily need the most expensive house. There's kind of a law of diminishing returns. So in my area, that like $700,000 to $1 million home, there's a lot of them available. They're easy to find. It's fantastic. Now there's $3 and $5 and $10 million homes. There's just very few. And I'm not saying those might be $2,000 a month to clean, but they can just be more headache than they're worth. So it's fine to take them. But believe it or not, for me, that would be yellow. I'm not looking for the super wealthy multimillionaire world traveler that can kind of be pains in the butt sometimes. I'm just looking for the guys making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year household income. They've got more money than they have time, and they want help, right? So you want expensive enough to afford your services with lots of them, but it doesn't have to be the most expensive. Last thing on this piece is residential and commercial should both have minimums, right? On the residential, for me, it'd be at least $200 a month. On the commercial, at least $500 a month. And as I got bigger, my minimum on commercial might increase, right? If I was doing $1 million a year, my minimum client I would take would probably be closer to $1,500. But the big thing is have a minimum you're comfortable with, decide on it, and don't change your mind, on a case-by-case basis. Next point, the right client at the wrong price is the wrong client. It's crazy that the people who pay the worst are almost always the biggest pains in the butt. They take the most work, they leave the bad reviews. Those who pay more tend to appreciate you more. They refer more. Not only the least amount of work, they're the people you actually enjoy. So let's talk about making sure we've got the right prices for the right people. The biggest mistakes people make when they're raising prices is they go with how they feel, not with what's best for their client. They've got this gut gross feeling that I'm going to lose all of my business, or I'm greedy, or I'm doing something wrong, or these people are going to hate me, and then they use that as an excuse to not do what's best for the business. But the reality is, the more you tolerate in your business the wrong people at the wrong price, or what you feel is the right people at the wrong price, which, as we discussed, is the wrong people, the less you're going to be able to help the right people at the right price. So the first thing is, when it comes to pricing properly, is making decisions with emotion, not with really, we call it data, not drama. The second piece is freaking out about the amount we're raising the price. The percent income doesn't matter, right? If I'm selling $20 bills for $1, the fact that I have to 20x my price doesn't matter because I started so far off. The only thing that matters is you end up at the right price of what it's really worth, not what percentage, because really all you're judging is how badly you priced it at the beginning. That's why it has to be raised so much. And the way I like to do that is just tell them, right? I'm bad at math. I made a huge mistake. The good news is you've been getting a really good price. The bad news is I just can't lose money like that. Here's the new price. And just rip the Band-Aid, right? So how that might look if you're charging $200 a month and it needs to go to $500. Hey, Susie, I'm so sorry. Honestly, I wish I could be fancy, good business owner, but I'm not. I'm poor at math. I did the 200. I am so excited to help you. And I realized it's actually costing me money. I can't do it. So we need $500 a month. I understand if that upsets you and you want to part friends, totally okay, but that's where it's got to be. You just come with the energy of here's where it is, and most of the time they're going to be fine. The next thing owners of cleaning companies stumble on when it comes to pricing is worrying about how much you're raising the price. But it's really looking at it the wrong way. If I'm selling you a $20 movie ticket for $3 and I double the price to $6, it's still not a good deal for me. I'm still doing the wrong thing. And we judge because we have to raise it so much, somehow we're in the wrong. But the reality is, it's just I was selling it so cheap at the beginning. So just tell the people, I'm so sorry, I can't do math. I am really excited to help you. So I came in at a price I thought would do it. I was so off. Here's the price it needs to be. And that's just it. And if they leave, it's okay, right? If I'm selling $20 bills for $10 and the guy stops giving me $10 for my $20 bill, that's fine. I'm not really losing anything. The third piece that holds owners of cleaning companies up when it comes to pricing properly is worrying about things that don't matter. How much they perceive the person. Well, they're poor, they're old, or they're on a limited budget. Keep in mind, this is not some sort of prescription pill they require to live. There's obviously a moral conversation about what to charge there. This is a luxury service. Nobody is owed cleaning from the government, right? This is something we're doing, and if they can't afford it, that's okay. We have a limited amount of people, and there's an unlimited amount of things that need to be cleaned. So at some point, we have to focus on who we are best equipped to serve, and that's typically going to be the people that vote with their dollars and are willing to spend for it. Another thing that doesn't matter that people kind of put into this is how long ago it's been since they raised prices, right? So and they do it, they go both ways. I've never raised prices, I'll feel really weird. Well, if you've never raised prices, good Lord, they know that prices go up. Everyone knows inflation has been crazy these last couple of years. Or the other one that's even harder is I just raised prices. It's okay to just say, I made a mistake. I knew it wasn't expensive enough. I felt bad about raising prices. I get up in my head and I didn't raise it enough and I've screwed myself. I'm so sorry. Here's the new price. And what you can do is, as long as the new price is recurring, right, it's going to be accurate forever, we can do a little one-time gift. Let me throw in a full, do your kitchen, your microwave, your refrigerator. Let me do a full pet hair removal. Like, you can do something nice that costs a little bit of money once to make them feel better and you feel better. But what I wouldn't encourage you to do, what's not going to work for your business, is just leaving prices alone because you're afraid to have a conversation. Forget who said it first. I heard it from Tim Ferriss. The quality of your life, and I would absolutely say the quality of your business, is dictated or limited by the number of difficult conversations you're willing to have. And owners will go so hard, working so hard for years, making very little or no money or way less money than they should, just because they're afraid to have a couple difficult conversations. All right, the last thing that keeps us from having price-based conversation is how nice they are. I really like this person. I don't want to upset them, but we have to remember, this is a business relationship first, and you should like your clients, and they should like you. But the reality is, if they're really nice and they care about you, they don't want you to work for free. They don't want to get screwed, but they want to make sure that you're taken care of, right? So it would be an affront to me if I had a friend and I'm like, we're doing this for free. I make absolutely no money, and this is keeping me from holding my business. They're like, yeah, but it saves me a nickel. That's fine with me. That doesn't seem like a friend, right? So the good news is, again, we coach to a 30% profit. That's not a tremendous amount. Most of you don't have yachts in the Cayman Islands that we're trying to pay for. So there's nothing morally wrong with charging for your service, and it's okay if they say no, right? The beautiful part about Smarketing is when you've got more people coming in than you need on the client side, you can be more selective about who you take. If you're less selective, it'll really lower your ability to take on new clients. So for Smarketing, we need to make sure we've got the right clients at the right price, so we have capacity to take on more of the right clients at the right price. That brings us to step number 3 in picking the right prospect. We're going to talk about the type of person, how they show up. Again, the quality of your customers dictates the quality of your business. Great customers equals a great business, or at least the potential to be a great business. If all of your clients are pain in the butt cheapos, there's no way you can have I shouldn't say there's no way. Walmart kind of exists, but I don't know I've not seen a way to make that work. So not only are you not required by law to take money from anyone, I know that we feel like, as new business owners, anyone that weighs a couple dollars in front of our face, we have to take it. Not only is that not something you have to do, you're typically going to grow faster, and you're almost always going to make more profit, and you're always going to enjoy your life more by saying no more. Now, the more successful you get, the better the things that you get to say no to, but the things that you have to say no to also get much more tempting. So at the beginning of your business, saying no is hard because we feel so desperate. As you get bigger and better, you think it gets easier, but it doesn't, because the offers that you get better and better. So this skill of saying no to the wrong things, in this specific instance, the wrong clients, is a muscle that you're going to be building throughout the growth of your business. Now, a lot of people, and one of my favorite things about owners of cleaning companies is you're so sweet. There's so many people pleasers out there. I'm married to a beautiful people pleaser who's amazing, but a lot of times she does it to her own detriment. And I see owners of cleaning companies doing that. I just want to make other people happy and serve them, which is a beautiful trait, but they need to set boundaries so they can do it in a way that doesn't burn them out. So you people pleasers out there, this is for you. The way that we say no to a wrong client or wrong customer, because people pleasers are afraid to do that, is we make it about them. So it's not you, it's me. I don't know if you've ever heard that in the breaking up part. So it would say something like, hey, it sounds like, let's say we've got someone that complains all the time, or we'll just stick with the pricing, someone that's too expensive. You do raise price, like, that's not fair, how dare you, I could get it for cheaper. You go, I totally get it. If I were in your shoes, I would want a cheaper price as well. So let's find someone that can do the work of the quality that you need at the price that you have. I just don't think I'm gonna be able to do it, but I 100% support you in getting the right fit for you. So even for you people pleasers, that should feel good. Same thing if people just complain too much, you're like, I don't want to put up with this anymore. We don't argue with them, right? A lot of times we get into that, they go, they did this and I got that. And we're like, we have pictures, and we go back and forth. But at no point are you gonna, with all the data in the world, explain how wrong they are. And they go, you know what? I've been a complete pain in the butt. Thank you for helping me. I'll change my attitude immediately. It's never gonna happen. So instead, we just agree with them. You're absolutely right. You should not, I gotta be honest, Susie, the last 2 or 3 times you've called me, I used to love when you called, now I'm always afraid. And you're angry. And why would you pay me to make you angry? Let's find you someone that can do a job that makes you happy. So we always make it about them and taking care of them. And just agree, you want X, I've only got Y. Doesn't make you a bad person or me a bad person. Let's get you what you need. Last thing here, don't eliminate a niche because it has bad customers. A lot of people say, oh, I don't do residential because they're a pain in the butt or they stink, or I don't do commercial because they complain too much. The reality is every niche has a group of people who are nice and mean. There's like a lot of lawyer jokes that they're terrible people. I've met a lot of lawyers and a lot of them are terrible. And there's a lot of very nice human beings that happen to be lawyers or politicians or owners of cleaning companies or potential clients. So every niche is going to have cheap people, appreciative people, rich and poor, nice and mean. We're not going to eliminate a niche. We're actually going to own it and go, we get to choose within that, right? If I take a lawyer that's kind of a mean pain in the butt, that's on me. I don't blame lawyers. I can just find a lawyer. I promise you there's going to be a lawyer that's nice. So same thing with you and your clients. When you can say no to everyone that weighs money at you and only pick the ones that you want, every niche is going to have good and bad. It's up to you to pick the ones that you want. Now, most owners default to marking some version, the words that they say is some version of the most clean for the least money. Something like, we clean good, we clean cheap. Here's the dirty little secret in the cleaning industry. The right customers don't actually want most clean for the least money. They might think they do, and they might even say they do, but they don't. The reality is they have more money than time, and they're absolutely willing to make a trade. They would rather give you money to get time because they know how to get money, but they can never get time back. It's the best sale ever. You're taking a renewable resource like money and giving a non-renewable resource like time, and people that have more money than time recognize that pretty quickly. The beautiful thing about these people, price is not their main concern, experiences. So nobody wants to feel like they're getting taken advantage of, but again, that's just them understanding the value of the price that you're charging, and like, this makes sense. So they want to feel good when they come home. Or when they walk into their business. It's more important they come in, they feel loved and cared for and taken care of, and the money they spent is getting them the result. I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to paying taxes, we pay a lot, and a lot of times I feel like the government services aren't great. If I felt like the government was super smooth and run and the money was spent efficiently, I'd feel a lot better about giving them my money. They have guns, so we can't opt out. We gotta get what we get. But when it comes, since we're not gonna hopefully hold our people up at gunpoint, we wanna make sure that they feel really good, so when they come home, they're like, oh my gosh, the day the cleaners come is my favorite day ever. These people would rather get a better experience than a cheaper price. Perfect example, we travel a bit, and when I was younger, I would want the cheapest price, like, oh my gosh, I can get a hotel room for $79 or something like that. Now, if it's a $400 or $500 room, I'd rather them say, hey, we can get you the $800 room at the same price and get you a nicer experience for the same money. I'll take that every time over we can get you a cheaper price because I'm concerned I'm gonna get an inferior experience and I don't want that, right? The best clients are actually suspicious of too cheap of a price, right? On the residential side, they're gonna go, are these people, am I gonna be comfortable leaving my family home alone with these people? On the commercial side, especially for the larger companies, larger customers we encourage you to take, they know what too cheap looks like. So believe it or not, we get afraid of charging too much, and there's some risk of that, especially if we don't understand their pain and we're not giving value commensurate to what we're charging. But we don't even think about the too cheap. Most of the most sophisticated buyers, when it comes to commercial and sometimes even residential, immediately eliminate the most expensive and the least expensive bid, right? They're all, because they know they don't want to get screwed, and they equate that with the most expensive bid, and they don't want to get screwed with a bad experience, and they equate that with the cheapest. So you don't want to be the least, you don't want to be too cheap. Can be almost as dangerous, sometimes more dangerous than too expensive. Now, when you help them get clear on their problem, the consequences of that problem, the consequences of those consequences like we talked about, they are going to assume that you can help them fix it. They just need someone that is focused on helping them instead of selling them, which is fantastic. And again, if you want a whole different video on sales, let me know, we can do that. We're not gonna do that here. But big picture, when you're trying to help them, it takes all of the worry about high pressure or trying to make them do something they want to do, and you can really just help them get clear on their pain and trying to help them solve it. And if you're the best in the world to help them solve it, you can certainly advocate powerfully for you to work together. And if not, you can turn them, you can refer them to someone you think would be a better opportunity. All right, when it comes to Smarketing, a big piece of this is to spend none of your time worrying about the guy who complained your prices are too high. Super easy to get up in our head and go, oh my gosh, and make our whole business change because this knucklehead complained that the price was higher, we're screwing them. It's okay for him to have that opinion and just not be part of our business. Or even worse, the fear, we don't even get that. And we're like, I'm not gonna have this, what I perceive to be a difficult conversation because he might say my prices are too high. We've got to do the right thing for our business, not for what makes us feel good in the moment. So we're not gonna spend any time convincing anybody that we're the best cleaner or we're worth a higher price, right? That's, we come with a price like, well, that's no good. Like, well, we're going to do a better job, and we're this and we're that. We want to spend all of our time finding the right people and helping them, right? If someone's just cheap and that's who they are, I don't want to spend any time selling them on how great I am or how they shouldn't be cheap. I just want to find someone else that is a right fit and spend all my time helping them. Perfect example is if I was looking to date and I saw an attractive woman and said, hey, you're beautiful. I'd love to talk to you sometime. And she goes, oh, that's very sweet, but I'm married. I'm not going to try and convince her to date me. I'm just going to find a woman who's looking to date and try and spend time with her. So spend all of your time finding the right people and helping them, not, I don't want to say arguing, but trying to drag the wrong people to where you want. To sum up, Pillar one in Smarketing is picking the perfect prospect, and that means picking the right type of clean, the right type of person based on who they are, and the right type of person based on how they are. Now, just by doing this, you're already going to be way ahead of your competition. Trust me, I talk to them day in and day out. So let's talk about Smarketing pillar number 2. Their favorite subject plus no duh equals client action. What does that mean? We'll start with their favorite subject. New marketers use bragvertising and they talk about their favorite subject, which is themselves. They talk about how good they clean, how great their team is, all the boring stuff about services you offer and the cities that you offer them in. And I know your SEO guy told you that you got to do that, but at the end of the day, you're going to get ranked better by the search engines if your page gives value than if it just has dumb lists of things your clients don't care about. Smarketers talk about your perfect prospect's favorite subject. If I'll give you a hint, if their least favorite subject is you, what do you think their favorite subject is? It's them, right? So cleaning company marketing is awful. Just talking about you or your perfect prospect as opposed to you is going to put you miles ahead of 99% of your competition. So let's talk about how to do that. When you talk about them and their pain in a way that makes them feel understood, they accurately assume that because you understand their problem at a level that you're able to articulate their problem better than they've thought it through themselves, they accurately assume that you can solve that problem better than the other salespeople that just talked about more clean for less money can. Bonus, this makes price a non-issue. I understand you want to sell cleaning, but they don't want to buy cleaning. They want to buy a solution. If we can be honest, they want to buy a feeling. So to be effective, you're going to talk about what they want to buy, a feeling or a solution, not what you want to sell. Great cleaning for low money. Now, I know a lot of you are going, I'm not guilty of bragvertising. I always talk about my clients. I get that a lot. To know for sure, just do a quick I, we versus you, your count. Go to your website or email or whatever marketing you do and count the literal I, we, us, our, me, my, your company name. These are all talking about you and your client doesn't care. Tally those up, maybe on the front page of your website versus you, your. Let me give you a couple examples. We'll start with a commercial ego-mercial. With over 20 years of experience, we can clean any type of business, and we do it with the best customer service. Check out our reviews and call now for a free quote. I think I actually Googled and got that from an actual commercial ego-mercial. Now let's talk about commercial smarketing. What might that sound like if you do it from their perspective? Do you feel like your part-time job is managing your cleaning team? If your cleaners started great but dropped off in quality and they're causing you more headache than just about every other vendor you don't have to put up with it anymore. Do you see the first one? If you want to go back and count the we us our versus the you yours, completely different. Let's give it a spin on the residential. So here's an ego-mercial. You're going to hate me on this one, residential owners, because I know a lot of you have this on your marketing. We don't cut corners, we clean them. Our cleaners are trained professionals with years of experience. We go above and beyond, right? Some version of that. Now let's talk about some residential smarketing. Sick of coming home to stare down your husband over whose turn it is to clean the house? Missing out on time for your family and your life because someone needs to clean this place? Turn the day the cleaners come into your favorite day of the week. See the difference? And again, feel free to go back and count the I, we, us, our versus the you, yours. So that's how we talk about their favorite subject. That's how we know what their favorite subject is. It's them and how to talk about it. Now, favorite subject plus no duh is what gets action. No duh is an offer where they go, well, I'd have to be stupid not to take that. So the hopium offer sounds a lot like do what I want plus lots of risk. And that equals no action on the client's part. It can sound like call now for a free quote. How many of you, I can almost guarantee 90% of you have that on your website right now. But what they know that means is call now to get a sales call that probably won't solve my problem and make my life worse. All right, quick rant and then I'll move on. You guys aren't doing this as much, but I used to see a lot of sign up for a free newsletter. There's two problems with that. One, you haven't put out a newsletter since June of 2000 and never. And two, no one has ever wanted a newsletter from their cleaner or cleaning company. They just don't care. So let's talk about a smarketing offer. Smarketing is going to solve pain or give gain and minus risk or delete the risk. Again, some version of I'd have to be stupid to say no to that, or a no-duh offer. Let's give a couple examples of what a no-duh offer looks like versus not so much. So a smarketing offer on the commercial side is going to talk about their pain, which is their boss, their coworkers, their clients. Everybody complains when the cleaners do a bad job. Dealing with facility management takes away from their real job. Managing cleaning companies sucks, right? These are all the pains that we want to let them know we can alleviate. On the gain side, it would be the business looks amazing and people actually give them credit when the cleaners do a good job. And it takes no time dealing with the cleaning company. When they do deal with the cleaning company, it's actually lovely. Now let's talk, so now we've got the pain and the gain, let's talk through some risk. Well, switching, and by the way, on the risk, you're not going to see money. It's none of this. The pain isn't, we're spending too much, almost never. They might say it, but the pains I gave you, I promise, are what they're really feeling. Now, let's talk about risk. Switching cleaners is a pain. It's a bunch of work. If managing the cleaner is a pain in the neck, switching a cleaner is going to be 5 times the pain in the neck, so that's why people are reticent to do that. Maybe if they do switch, the cleaner is going to start good, but then start sucking. They've fallen for that before. So a no-duh offer might sound like the no-risk cleaner switch. We'll call your current provider. We'll switch all of your supplies and paper dispensers for free. We'll change the locks for you. We have one-page service agreement that's month to month. If you have to call and complain, not only is that cleaning free, but the next cleaning's on us and so is dinner. If you're not happy with us in 6 months, we'll find another cleaner for you, right? These are all just ideas if you can, when you see the pain that they're trying to get away from and the gain they're trying to move towards, the risk is pretty easy to go, how can I make an offer where they go, boy, oh boy, if they're going to find me, if they're going to guarantee they do a good job, and if they don't, they buy me dinner and I get a free clean. And if they don't do a good job in 6 months, they'll find a new cleaner for me and they do all the work up front. I'd have to be stupid not to take that, right? And that's what we're going for. Perfect. Now let's talk about a residential smarketing offer and what the pain, gain, and no-duh offer might look like. So on the pain side, and keep in mind, we know who we're talking to. Typically, this is going to be a lady with kids, married, all that. She hates coming home to a dirty house. She is so disappointed she's missing out on time for her family, and she's maybe even given up on having time for herself. And if you could get her back any or all of those things, she'd pay almost anything. Gain is not only does she not feel stressed when she comes home, but it's her favorite day of the week when the cleaners have come. She feels relaxed. She feels cared for. Everywhere else in her life, she's taking care of everybody else. In this one place, she feels like someone's caring for her. And when she comes home, she can focus on her family, on what's important, and get time back for herself. So with that pain and gain in mind, let's talk about some no-duh offers you might make. Free clean Friday, pay what you think it's worth. $200 in massages or roses or a night out, when you spend $147 to get your $500 initial deep clean. And for those of you guys like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid of, giving stuff away. The trick is it's got to be to the right person. So if you're giving kind of $20 bills for $10, you're like, I thought you said I'm not supposed to do that. When we're doing ongoing services, we're not, right? But not that we're timeshares by any stretch, but if any of you have seen the timeshare, they'll give you $500 or $1,000 package, and then when you buy a $20,000 thing, it's just marketing. It makes sense, right? So the reason that works is they only do that for the right people. For Smarketing, I'm totally fine giving a free clean to a perfect prospect who says they're interested in cleaning, and they commit to letting me give them a bid. No, they don't have to take it. And if I just make an overwhelming first experience, we take all the risk away, and they'd be like, well, I'd have to be stupid not to take this. So we want to make the offer, even if it costs some money, and we get into the third piece, data, not drama. We'll talk about how to make sure you do this very profitably. But long story short, if you've got to give a couple $100 to get a client to Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook, or you can do it directly for your perfect prospects, let's invest in our perfect prospects. And when you said, holy crap, with that last one, how do I buy all these lotions and massages and all that and do a $500 initial deep clean for just $147? Well, first of all, there is no risk, and that's a no-duh offer. But the way you can kind of supercharge that is when you're talking to the right person, other people want to sell their services to the same person, right? Massage people, typically that's a luxury service. Same with, roses. There's probably people that, for $50 or $100 or $200, I don't know, per month will put fresh roses in. You can offer that as a service. Gift baskets. You can talk to companies and have those donate to you so you get them for free to give to your clients, just so they say, here's where I got it from. And if you really want to supercharge that, you can build strategic alliances where you give all of your clients these free gifts in exchange for them using their services. And the same thing, right? The massage lady can give all of her clients a free clean if they're qualified, the right people, because you've got expectation that they're going to become recurring clients. So you can even find a way where all this free gift that you give are with strategic alliances. They don't even cost you anything. Now that you know exactly who to make your offer to, what to say to them to get them to take action, maybe you're worried about how to pay for all this. So let's dive into Smarketing step number 3, track and tweak. Data, not drama. So the hopium smoking marketers say they track everything. It sounds like I spent a bunch of money on something that didn't work at all, or was complete garbage. But there's no data there. I don't know what a bunch is. When they say spend a bunch of money, they don't quantify that, or over what time period, or what didn't work at all means. Did you get no clicks? Did you get no phone calls? Did you get no bids but no sales? And then they blame the source, the lead source, so Facebook doesn't work, or direct mail, or whatever they're doing, and they move on to another lead source and just make the same mistake over and over again, and then they say global crazy statements like marketing doesn't work. So a lot of that is because they have wrong expectations. Let's set accurate expectations that set you up for success. The goal is to build marketing systems that work, not get rich today. So the reality is, if and when you sell your company and you're able to go, here's the 12 lead sources we've tested over the last year, here's exactly the cost, here's what we spend, here's the cost per lead, cost per bid, cost per sale, the progress we're be able to make. Of these 12, 8 we were not able to make, 2 we think we might try again, the other we don't think work for us. Here's the 4 that do work, and if you want to double the company, you can just add spend here. That's wildly valuable to a prospective buyer when they can say, wow, that's amazing. And for those of you going, I'm not going to sell my company, well, keep in mind, owner of a cleaning company, every day you don't sell your company, you're buying it. So if you're going to own this thing, let's own a company that's got the potential to do what you want. So all that to say, it's not uncommon for you to spend money your first month only to buy data and not get the results that you want. So I spent $500, and when they say I got nothing, what they mean is I didn't track and properly allocate sales, and then they get disappointed and quit. But the reality is, many times, I'm not saying you're going to spend $5,000 in your first month, but you're going to spend hundreds of dollars. It's okay if you buy data. So one of our ad buyers who's not with us, he didn't die, he's doing other things, talked about moving the peanut forward, right? So let's just say I'm doing Facebook ads and I spend $500, and the first $100 clicks are like $20 a click. So I go, oh, that creative's not working for the ad. I might change that and get clicks down to $5, but they go to the landing page and nobody takes the action I want to go to the calendar booking page. So then I changed that, and then now people are clicking on the ad, they're getting to the landing page, they're going to the calendar page, but nobody's booking a call. And then maybe I get them to book a call, but then they don't show up. And then I get them to show up, but they're the wrong people. So as long as we're moving the peanut, maybe over that $500, it's like clicks went from $20 to $3, and the percentage of people that converted to the calendar page went from 0% to 15%, and the people that booked a call, we're just looking for forward progress. And if we're not tracking the right data, we'll think we got nothing with the money, but the reality is we might be 60, 70, 80% towards a marketing system that could be worth millions of dollars, but we get discouraged because we spent $500 and quote unquote didn't get anything. So the way that we do that is we start small and we only add spend when you've got a positive first month return on investment. So everything we coach our clients is as quickly as possible. It's not going to be immediately. Get a positive first month ROI. All that means is if I spend $400 to get a client that's worth $400, I'm okay, right? Because we coach you to charge in advance, so you get your $400 right away, and then your marketing budget becomes kind of unlimited. So we talked earlier that people tend to freak out about free cleans. But like I said, it's much better to invest money in actually giving to the client the community that you want, because even if they don't buy, you're gonna get a referral, you're gonna get a story, you're gonna get experience, they might give a 5-star review, and when you put it on marketing, it doesn't work, you get nothing. So don't get that emotional attachment to a free clean that might cost you $100. I'm like, they screwed me because they didn't buy. Well, you didn't say they had to buy, it's just marketing, right? So whether we give $100 to a marketing platform or into our perfect prospects, don't get all emotionally attached to anything. The first thing you want to track in Smarketing is first month ROI. That just means you know exactly how much you can spend to acquire a customer. A lot of us think and sometimes even brag about how little we spend on marketing. I built my whole business on repeat referral companies. The problem is most of those guys are very small. The truth is whoever can spend the most on marketing wins. If I can spend $1,000 to get a client and you can only spend $100 and you're not even confident in that, I'm gonna own the market. So here's the magic. When your first month ROI is greater than 100%, meaning I can get a $400 client that pays $400 every month, and if they stay 2 or 3 years, they're gonna be worth 10 grand. If I can get that $400 client that I'm gonna get, we teach you to charge in advance, so as soon as you get the client, you get their $400. If I can get that $400 client that I get paid on right away for $400, your marketing budget is kind of infinite at that point. So the way we get first month ROI is you just take your recurring revenue divided by ad spend. So example, if you spend $2,000 and you get 6 clients, and those 6 clients are $400 a month, that's $2,400 a month. So you spent $2,000 to get $2,400. You spent $2,000 once to get $2,400 of recurring revenue. It's like $30,000 a year. And the way you do that is you just take the recurring revenue, $2,400, you divide it by ad spend, the $2,000. You can do the math on your own if you want, but it comes out to 120% first month ROI. I know I had a great month. Now it's like, can I spend $4,000 to get $4,800 worth of recurring revenue? So that's the first thing to track, first month ROI. The second thing you want to track in Smarketing is a little funky one. I got this from Alex Hormozy, but it's really good. CAC to LTGP ratio. So let me go really slow. I know it sounds fancy, but it's just a way of saying how much to get a customer or how much a customer is worth versus what it costs you to get them. So CAC, C-A-C, just means client acquisition cost. Nothing fancy at all. LTGP is lifetime gross profit. So we talk a lot about lifetime value, which is important, but because we are selling a service, if we sell a service for $400 and it costs us $200 to provide that service, that $200 in payroll isn't really available for profit or overhead. It goes right off the bat. Same if I'm selling pencils for $1 and they cost me 50 cents. I didn't really make $1. I only have that 50 cents. So that's gross profit. All right, so this is a huge reason. People don't get how deep this goes, but this is a huge reason why recurring is such a big lever in the business and why there's so much opportunity in the cleaning business when we only take recurring clients. Like I mentioned before, we talk about this in depth in my Chaos to Control video. There's a link in the comments that'll show you how to get there. So let's just walk through the math really slowly, and feel free to pause or get whatever you need because it's important. If you get this ratio, this will be helpful for just about every business you're ever gonna run, certainly the cleaning business. But if your CAC to LTGP, your client acquisition cost to lifetime gross profit, Let's just kind of go through an example of a $1,000 one-time sale. Maybe I get a really nice juicy move in, move out versus just a regular $400 a month clean, and let's see how they kind of shake out. We'll make a couple assumptions. Let's say they both cost $200 to get that customer. Maybe you can go a little cheaper, maybe it costs you a little more, but $200, let's just say it costs you $200. Your CAC, client acquisition cost, is $200. Also, just to make the math easy, let's say it costs you 50% to deliver that service, right? Maybe you do a little better, maybe you do a little worse, but let's, for this, just assume 50% to make it easy. So we'll walk through the one-time clean for $1,000. You pay the cleaners 50%, that's $500. That leaves you with $500 of gross profit. Now keep in mind, it costs you $200 to get that customer, the CAC, client acquisition cost. So after the $500, if you take from the $1,000, the $500 to provide the cleaning, the $200 to get the client, that leaves you with $300. And technically you've made that $300 in profit, but remember, to get that, you've got to find the client, go out and bid, or do it on the phone. And if you do it on the phone, you're kind of risky. You've got to schedule it, you've got to do the work, you've got to do a quality check, you've got to collect the money, you've got some sort of risk that they leave you a bad review, all that sort of stuff. So you made $300 after spending $200, right? You spent $200 to get the client, you made $300. That ratio is not great. Now let's go on the other side and assume you get a $400 a month clean. And I'm just going to say they stay 25 months because that makes an easy $10,000 revenue. Some of you probably have clients that stay a lot longer. Maybe some clients don't stay as much, but 25 months is a very fair average, and it makes the math easy. And same thing, if you pay your cleaners 50%, so we've got $400 a month times 25 months, that leaves a lifetime value of $10,000. If you pay your clients half, or sorry, not your clients, your cleaners half, that's $5,000, and you're left with $5,000 in gross profit. Still costs you the same $200 to get that client, the CAC, client acquisition cost. So you end up spending $200 to get $4,800. And again, this is over the next couple of years, but that still beats the heck out of spending $200 to get $300. So if you do the math, the CAC, client acquisition cost, to LTGP, lifetime gross profit ratio, for the one-time client is 1.5 to 2. Not great. The CAC to LTGP ratio, or 1.5 to 1, I'm sorry. So you get $300, which is 1.5 times as much as $200. You get a little extra. The CAC to LTGP for the recurring client is 24 to 1. The recurring customer is worth 16 times as much. Let me give you an example of how this might look if we just added one-time clients for a year versus recurring clients for a year. So let's say we added 10 of each. In one scenario, we had 10 $400 a month recurring clients to your company versus 10 $1,000 one-time clients to your company. Let's just do the math and see how it kind of shakes out in the year. Well, the one-time clients are pretty easy. If they're $1,000 each and you had 10 of them, it's $10,000 a month, 12 months in a year, you've added $120,000 of revenue to your company. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Now let's say you add 10 $400 a month clients to your year, or to your company every month. If you take 10 times 400, that's $4,000 a month in MRR, monthly recurring revenue. And if you multiply that times 12, you'll get the ARR, annual recurring revenue. So if you add 10 $400 a month clients per month, you're adding $48,000 a year in ARR, annual recurring revenue. Now, if you do that for 12 months, you end up adding $576,000 in annual recurring revenue. And if those average clients stay 2 years, because that's annual recurring, so if they recur only for 1 year and then they leave, that $576,000 turns out to be over $1 million of revenue added to your company for the same marketing spend. Hopefully that's been super helpful. Let's sum it up and make sure we get everything organized in our mind and give you a direction to go. So we started by talking about stop selling and let the right clients buy without haggling a bunch on price. Then we talked about how there's no magic lead sources that you can fax your order to. You actually need to know how to market, and it's a massively valuable skill for just about every business, and most certainly for the cleaning business. Then we talked about when you market, you have to know who your perfect prospect is, and that's the right type of clean, the right type of person based on both who they are and how they act. Then we need to make sure in our marketing we talk about their favorite subject and make them like a no-duh offer. And finally, we're going to use data, not drama, to make Smarketing decisions based on how much it costs to get a client and how much that client is worth over their lifetime, not over some sort of emotional response of it being too expensive. So The goal of this is not just for you to be smarter, it's action. And if you've stayed with me this whole time, God bless you. Let's actually take some action so you can change your business and change your life. Put this into practice right away. If you, by the way, if there's anyone on your team that helps you with marketing, or maybe you've got one of those $500 or $1,000 agency people and you want to help them get up to do a little better, share this with them, or anyone on your team that does marketing. Or if you know another cleaner who's just needs more good clients that don't complain about money, please do them a solid and share with them. Now, you may be overwhelmed and you're like, I want to do all this, but it seems like too much. If you want help from myself and my team to help you kind of execute this, you can either click, there's a link in the channel on how to work with us, or you can just email me, mike@growmycleaningcompany.com. Even if you've got feedback, would love to hear it. Finally, again, if you've made it this far, thank you. I put a ton of time into this, and I know that you've made a huge investment of your time, and I just appreciate you going all the way through. This has been Smarketing. Get to work.